there are robust markets for hemp in areas in Asia, such as China. Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam are getting into the play right now. Africa is looking into it, although it's in its nascent stages. But the European market is actually quite robust as well. And they have had a head start, especially in the area of low THC genetics.
All right, welcome to the iHemp Hour. My name is Dave Craybill. I'm with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for education, to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. And it begins with the farmer. We're going to start with Mike Brennan, though, with the 420 Post report.
Yeah, this is a big day in Lansing. The caregiver lobby. Caregivers, as you know, we've talked about this before. There's a group of very large players. The Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association represents the Looms and the Common Citizens and the Skymints and all those big guys. And there's a lobbying effort underway. There's actually some legislation in the House to curtail caregivers, not eliminate, but knock them way down from being able to do 5 patients to just 2. And instead of being able to grow, I think, 60 plants at a time, they're cutting that down to 24. And so if all this goes through, and it's still an if, then about 40,000 people that rely on caregivers now would be forced to use the regulated market, go into dispensaries. And many of these people, the reason they're using caregivers, they have physical or mental handicaps or some other issues. So happening today is, I don't know how many people are there, but I know it's been a big topic, is a lot of the folks that are caregivers or support caregivers, maybe be some patients or who knows, are in Lansing today to lobby their various state representatives, state senators, because Rick Thompson, who's the executive director of Michigan NORML and is on my 420 Post show, was saying they discovered a lot of these new legislators have only been in office for less than a year. They really don't know anything about the adult use market or the medical markets. They're brand new to it. They still kind of have that reefer madness mindset. So they're going to lobby them vigorously. Now, whether that changes anything, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball on that. But they're giving it the old effort today, and hopefully they'll have some success, but we'll see what happens. Also, on Tuesday was election day, and there was a whole bunch of stuff going on in the cannabis space. The folks in Clawson and Rockwood, which are both Detroit suburbs, rejected cannabis business licenses. So no adult use there in those areas. Whereas Detroit, they voted to legalize magic mushrooms and other psychedelics. It's a real mixed bag. Yes, out there. Oh. Just what we need in Detroit. Yeah, go to that ball game, get a mushroom, have a good time. And so, and then the peer voters, there was an effort underway by some city council people to vote already approved adult use licenses out, and that failed miserably by a 2-to-1 margin. The folks on the peer said, nope, we want our dope. So that was all taking place on Tuesday. So it's been a big week for politics in the adult cannabis space. And like I say, the big rally's going on today. We'll report back on that next week, how that all turns out. And of course, next week, I don't know, Blaine's going to ask me anyway. So next week, we're devoting both of my shows. I have a Monday show that covers business and technology. We're going to devote that show to the Hero Project, because it is Veterans Day week. And then on Wednesday, we're going to do the same thing with 420 Post, which is my show about adult use cannabis, the over 0.3% crowd. And then I'll let Blaine announce it, but I think iHemp next week is going to be looking at the Hero Project as well, right, Blaine?
We are. We're happy to have you guys on next week and be able to talk about that. It happens to be Veterans Day, so what a great day to have that topic to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to have, we have all the board members. We have one board member who's actually an Iraqi disabled vet, and he's our spokesperson, Anton Harb Jr., so he'll be on the show. Rob Robar does a lot of, he's a CBD producer, that sort of thing, all tinctures and things. Nothing in the THC space at this point. So we'll have him on the show talking about what they're doing. We have a lot of action underway. We just, I can't quite disclose something that we'll be announcing shortly, but we're going to be working with a group out of Flint to do a big turkey giveaway where the Hero Project's going to support that, and then they'll be able to through our 501c3, and they'll be able to then write off that donation on their taxes. But 1,000 turkeys are going to be available. Hero Project's behind that. So we're trying to do what we can to get the word out about what we're trying to do. And I won't take a lot of time now because we're going to be talking about this next week. But essentially, it's to help veterans, not so much to give them food or place to stay necessarily, although that could be part of it later on. It's more focused on how we'll be able to help veteran service organizations serve the vets. I mean, we're not experts at doing that, but we are 501c3 registered with the IRS and all the rest. And our plan is to get as much money together as we can through selling various products like hemp-based products, CBD products, cannabis products, or just outright donations. And then in the spring, when we get some money together, then we'll have the Cannabis Social Equity Fund, who we don't touch the money, they do. And so we will then put out applications for grant money, and then they will vet them and take care of all that, and then we'll disperse the money. We're a nonprofit, unpaid board that's just doing this because it's the right thing to do. So
That's awesome, Mike.
Well, we do our best, So, So back to Dave.
Well, I think Blaine probably has a little bit of news. And
a little bit of news today, and then we'll share some at the end for sure. First thing we want to do is thank all of our sponsors that we've had helping us with the show so far that we've had in the past. And the expo is coming up in January. A lot of great opportunities there to promote your product and to promote yourself. So Midwest iHemp Expo would be the website you'd go to, and there are some good booths that are still left, but they're getting taken up every day. So if you want to come and play and be able to be part of the fun in January, you might want to get on there sooner than later on that for sure. The schedule's coming together. That should be up here very shortly of who the speakers are. A lot of great lineup again this year. And we're leaving plenty of time for you to be able to visit down at the exhibit hall as well. And then, of course, Friday night will be the Hempies. So if you got any kind of hemp product you're making, whether it be CBD product or with building material or like what I do with oil or any hemp-related product, doesn't matter. You're able to enter into that and have a lot of fun competition and get a really nice little prize that you can have at the end. And hey, for first, second, and third places, there's even a little cash money. So green always goes with everything.
Well, and I think the price of admission alone, just to see you in a tuxedo, that's worth the price of admission.
Yes, and I'll probably have a real one this year, not my full power one.
Not your T-shirt one, huh? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's see. So MDAR put out a seasonal reminder email regarding some things that now that we're getting we're actually into the harvest cycle, but past it. So grower registration, that cycle ends February 1st through January 31st. So you have a little bit of time for the grower registration, but remember, if you're a processor, that's a different time frame. You got to have that, and that's got to be in by the end of this month. Otherwise, they add a little service fee onto the end of that. Let's just call it that. So save yourself $250 and get your application in by the end of this month, and you'll be happy about that. And also, one of the requirements you had to do if you were growing this year is you had to fill out the Acreage Report with FSA. If you haven't done that, there's still time to get that done. You do need to do that. So remember to get that completed if you haven't done that. There'll probably be a little fee now they're going to charge you. Not too much, but it is a requirement, so please make sure you get that done. And of course, then they talk about how to get the samples if you need to. I would think by now most everybody's had their sampling done. And then you have the 30-day window, of course, to be able to get that harvested on that. So again, today I do talk about in that email also about options you have for remediation, how to do that if your crop went hot. Haven't had any update yet on knowing. One thing we knew is that earlier on this year, when they first started doing the test, there was 4 lots or fields that went hot, but I haven't heard anything since that, so I'm not sure where we sit with that right now. Also in December, the very first part of December, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Indianapolis, will be the Hemp at the Crossroads Expo going on. We're working on a little deal with them. Not all the details are worked out, but basically if you go to one, you're going to have a discount to be able to put in to get money off on the other. So a little more savings there. If you attend both of them, you can get a savings to attend on that. We still need everybody's help to make sure they're contacting their congressmen, senators especially, on getting the passed so that we can have a safe and regulatory path for CBD. So please help support that as well. I've gotten responses back from my representatives, both House and Senate, on that topic, and they're the canned responses back, but at least they're paying attention to it, and it's about numbers, folks. The more people that they have talking about a subject, the more likely they're going to pay attention to it and be able to help us get it passed the way we'd like it to be passed. So. Now, one of the big things that came out this week, and this is gonna be interesting in the next few weeks as discussion gets more on it. But so the U.S. Department of Justice (DEA) clarifies its position that hemp-derived Delta-8 THC is not illegal. The DEA confirms that Delta-8 made from hemp material is not subject to the Controlled Substance Act. We've talked a lot about this, and of course different states do different things. Some have outright banned it. In Michigan, they've made a pathway for it to be able to use under the medical marijuana situation, go under that way to be able to sell it if people want that product. But this may be a game changer, and we'll see what happens. But that's the latest news that came out on that they've clarified. Now, synthetically produced Delta-8 is still under the Controlled Substance Act, but if it's derived from the industrial hemp, 0.3% or less THC, it is not subject to what they say. It's not subject to the
That's actually a very big issue that's going to change a lot of things, So.
If we didn't have enough things going on in the world, now we get to talk and bring this up all again. So yeah. So anyways, I'll have some more news at the end of the show that we'll talk about a little bit there. But that's kind of what's the big news going on right now. And again, everybody check out the Midwest iHemp Expo page. A lot of fun things going on there, and make sure you get your entries in for the Hempies. That's going to be a lot of fun Friday night. So,
how many booths would you say are still left, Blaine, out of the total?
We probably got about 50 booths still left, maybe.
But they'll be gone by the end of the month, probably, right?
Everybody procrastinates, so.
Yeah. Don't procrastinate, folks.
Now, do you have an early bird special, or is that passed?
That's passed. Go ahead, Dave.
That's passed, but we've been reaching out to people that have exhibited in the past, and if you contact us directly, we'll provide concierge service.
Mm-hmm.
And you still get a discount if you are a member, because remember, membership has benefits. You do get a reduction on the price if you're a member. So
are you offering a package deal where if you join, you also get the discount and get the booth?
Yeah, you bet.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm shilling for you here, guys. So go ahead.
All right, good job. All right, well, we have a great guest today. Do you have anything else, Blaine?
Nope, not right now. I'll have some more stuff at the end of the show.
Well, I've got our chief technologist, Beau Whitney. Thank you, Beau, for your persistence. I know technology
is battling Zoom there for a while, but he's with it. So.
We got her all sorted out. So Beau is actually an economist, and last time I saw Beau was in Raleigh, North Carolina. We were breaking bread in a barbecue joint there. That was pretty good. So Beau's
that was great.
Yeah. He's the founder and chief economist at Whitney Economics, a global leader in cannabis and hemp business, consulting, data, and economic research. Whitney Economics is based in Portland, Oregon. Serving an international clientele, Beau is considered one of the leading cannabis economists in the U.S. and globally. His applications of economic principles to create actionable, operational, and policy recommendations has been recognized by governments and throughout the economic, investment, and business community. So welcome, Beau. We're so happy to have you here and get some of your insight, because some of the things you had to share is really exciting. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the kind introduction. That was quite the mouthful there. But I'm based here in Portland, Oregon, but I've been examining the hemp industry for a number of years now. Early on, especially post-2018 Farm Bill, there was not a whole lot of analysis occurring, not a whole lot of data. And in particular, not a whole lot of inputs from cultivators and processors. And so I went about deploying a couple of surveys to over 10,000 cultivators and processors around the country. So I've kind of filled that gap in terms of providing data to the hemp industry. And I also serve as the chief economist for National Industrial Hemp Council. And so a lot of that data and inputs and insights from the cultivators and processors and product manufacturers is summarized and goes eventually into Congress so that we can help shape really good, sound policy for the hemp industry.
Excellent. So where do you see, we've talked about this recently, but where do you see the hemp industry going? How long is it going to take for it to really mature and be a viable, a thriving industry?
Yeah. So even though there's been a period now of declining prices, both at the wholesale biomass side, especially for CBD, especially at the processing side, once again for CBD isolates and distillates, a lot of the farmers and processors have gotten hammered due to these price decreases, and I could see how they would be frustrated. I'm actually quite bullish on the hemp industry. While CBD is rather sexy, I think the fiber and grain side is transformational and can do a lot more. In fact, I'm predicting that although licensed acres this year is down 60% from last year, I'm seeing not 200 or 300,000 acres being licensed in the near future, but 9 million or 10 million acres being licensed. And that's a conservative estimate. And that would be by 2030. So over the next 10 years, 10 million acres being licensed.
What do you see for hemp remediation? Is that going to be a big part of this too, or not?
I sat down with a series of Department of Ag policymakers at the state level. In fact, I was in Louisville at the NASDA conference with NIHC, and we interviewed 20 heads of the state departments of Ag. They are looking for greater clarity at the federal level on policy, and remediation is way up there on the list. And so I think that there will be some movement because so many of the state departments of agriculture have expressed that this is a serious issue. So I think there'll be movement. Will it be this year, early next year? I think that seems like about the right time frame. There's based upon my Whitney Economics estimate, heading into the 2021 season, there was over 200 million pounds of excess biomass in the system in inventory. 200 million pounds, 68,000 tons. And so that can't just follow there. It has to be produced into something. And if they can't get it into CBD, then there's other applications. About 25% of the crops that were harvested in 2020 tested hot. And so there's got to be a policy in which the farmers can do something with the crops rather than just till it under and destroy it.
Now, Beau, you serve on a number of different boards. Maybe you can help tell us what those are and what services you provide for them.
Yeah, so Whitney Economics provides data and business consulting and economic research. And so part of my clientele is associated with governments, providing them inputs, data, policy, analysis, and recommendations. Basically, how will policy impact an industry such as hemp or even adult use or medical cannabis? Another part of my clientele are business operators, and they need data in order to make informed decisions on how to run their businesses. And then other clients are just individuals that want my research and data, so they either subscribe to the data or they contract me for one-off reports or specific reports for their businesses. So I do serve as chief economist at National Industrial Hemp Council. I also serve a slightly different role with on a contract basis with the National Cannabis Industry Association. It's one of the leading trade associations for the higher THC side. And then I serve on boards of other businesses, generally focused on the adult use, medical, or industrial cannabis space.
So it's always interesting to hear how people get into this space and do these things. So how did you get involved in this, and how did you go down this road?
Well, my background actually is in high-tech manufacturing. I worked for Intel Corporation and then for 7 years, and then 7 years with Triquet Semiconductor, which is now called Corvo. And so I learned a lot about running supply chains on a global basis. But a lot of my successes in the high-tech industry was just based upon hard work and putting in long hours. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I wanted to get paid for my knowledge and insights rather than just for outworking people. So I looked at at education, and I became a professor of economics. I had a lot of applied economics in my background, and so it was a natural fit. But it was in one of the economics classes that a student started talking about the cannabis industry. I was very intrigued, so I started putting together some models on the demand. This is in Oregon in the run-up to the adult use and legalization referendum in 2014. And I realized, whoa, there's this huge opportunity. So I jumped in with both feet. I primarily looked at adult use and medical, but then in 2017, I was invited to give a speech on the economics of hemp at NOCO in Colorado. And as I looked in more and more into the hemp industry, I was like, wow, this is going to make the marijuana market look small by comparison. And so then from there, I became kind of a regional analyst and national and then international, and I started building clientele, even going so far as to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, talking about deploying hemp and medical cannabis in sub-Saharan Africa. So I've made the journey. It was circuitous as a route, but ultimately I've been quite blessed. It's taken me around the world and then some in terms of talking about the economics of hemp and cannabis.
And it seems like everybody around the world's got their act together on this except the United States, right? I mean, I realize that Farm Bill was 2018. It's really new, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, the Europeans, everybody else been doing this for a long time, and they're really good at it, right?
Yeah, you know, I charted out the amount of acreage licensed in 2020, and it was worldwide, it was over 1 million acres. About half of that was the United States. But there are robust markets for hemp in areas in Asia, such as China, Laos, and Cambodia, and Vietnam are getting into the play right now. Africa is looking into it, although it's in its nascent stages. But the European market is actually quite robust as well. And they have had a head start, especially in the area of low THC genetics. And so especially on the fiber side and the grain side, and a lot of those genetics are being exported to the US. But it's not that easy to just grab some European genetics and be successful. You really have to consider a lot more than just throwing some seeds in the ground. But I think Europe has led the way on the fiber side. They've incorporated it in the automobile industry. And then on the textile side, it's been more Asia dominated. And we can't forget our neighbors to the north in Canada. They've been supplying industrial cannabis, industrial hemp into the United States for a long, long time now. And they have a rather mature market as well.
Oh, do you see any parallels? I mean, it seems like, you know, the cannabis becoming a commodity crop. Are there any parallels to any this something like this ever happening again, or in the past?
Well, no, I've seen commodities move the other way, where they are rather robust and entrenched in the United States, and then due to low cost labor and the like, they get offshored. But having this amount of enthusiasm on the cultivation side, this is something that hasn't occurred in 100 years. And so but what's interesting about the hemp industry and the phenomena here in the U.S. is that the infrastructure is really still very, very nascent, and there's little gaps in the supply chain in such a way that it's actually inhibiting the growth. And so while there's a lot of enthusiasm, while it's poised to be the fourth crop in the United States in the agricultural sector, it's still got a ways to go before it actually matures.
So, and that gets to the financing, because we need a lot of infrastructure, as you pointed out, and that takes money, and that takes investment capital, and we just don't have that available to us in most cases.
Yeah, I've looked into the investment side of hemp, and there's a couple of things that are occurring. One, a lot of investors want to see the demand before they'll invest. And although there's been plenty of supply from the processors and cultivators, there's a missing link in that whole supply chain called product manufacturing. That's the infrastructure that you talk about. And product manufacturing is the link between the raw materials and the end customer. And so you need products deployed in order to generate revenue throughout the system. So one issue associated with investment and finance is the lack of product manufacturing. People aren't taking the risk in order to deploy products. The other major kind of elephant in the room is federal regulation. And there's a lot of regulatory murkiness. People don't understand the rules of the game. They don't understand what's legal, what's not. If you test hot, what happens if you are processing CBD, for example, and you go above 0.3 mid-process? Is that illegal? There's all these questions where there's a lack of federal clarity. And because there's a lack of federal clarity, then the product manufacturing sector is reluctant to deploy products in such a way that it would really scale up the industry rapidly. So combination of lack of risk taking by product manufacturer and lack of regulatory clarity, it's been kind of the death knell for a lot of farmers and processors throughout the United States.
So how do we get past the chicken and the egg stage? Who needs to make the move? With the regulations, the feds?
No, actually, I think there's a unique type of investor in this space that not only invests in the supply side, but also is willing to build the market from scratch. They're a lot rarer, but as they build the demand side and the supply side, then there's a tremendous opportunity. And it's going to take some people continuing down this path and taking some risks to demonstrate that there's opportunities that are being unrealized or being suppressed due to the regulatory murkiness. So it is a bit of a chicken and the egg, but I think as people remain steadfast in the industry and they say, hey, look, there are solutions here to a lot of issues that are salient to not only the consumers, but to the policymakers. Once they demonstrate those opportunities, then I think the regulators will react in kind.
Let me just quick follow up. The Biden administration, are they friendly towards hemp? Or are they the same as the Trump, or what?
Well, I think Congress is still trying to figure this out. The Biden administration is trying to figure it out. The states are looking to the feds, but a lot of the issues are more at the agency level, like the Food and Drug Administration and the like. And when you've got an interim director there, it's tough to really get policies moved along. And so it seems like the FDA in particular are waiting for Congress to intervene, and Congress is trying to say, hey, FDA, step up. So I think if there's ever a chicken and the egg, it's between Congress and the regulatory administrations.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Well, we're trying to do what we can on the regulatory side by, since FDA won't move, we're trying to get Congress to make FDA move. So I think that's going to be one of our best routes to go at this point, because I just don't think they have the manpower and time and energy to be able to do what needs to be done until they're told to do it. So,
well, if you think about this, there's a lot of initiatives right now towards clean energy, green technology, climate, pollution, not consuming non-renewable minerals and resources. And if you look at the opportunities and potential of hemp, a lot of those boxes are checked through the scale and deployment of hemp in all of these different industries. There's automotives. You've got Mercedes and BMW already using hemp in their cars and their European manufacturing. Subaru uses hemp in theirs. You've got a lot of hemp in the plastics arena that could potentially even biodegrade in landfills. And so if you're not filling up landfills with plastics made from petroleum, you've got construction materials and textiles, animal feed when there's a shortage of animal feed worldwide. A lot of these, and hemp's not necessarily a panacea. It won't solve all of the world's problems, but it can contribute in many ways that, if given the opportunity from a regulatory perspective, then it'd be surprising just what hemp can do if given the chance.
Yes, it's exciting when you're on the inside, so to speak, and seeing what's happening every day and the articles that are coming out, and when you're working with the manufacturers to see where this is all headed. We know where it's going. Certainly, I wish FDA and we would get the being able to use it for livestock feed and in food products. I wish that would move along a little quicker, but I think the studies that are coming out now are just going to show that, especially in the poultry area that we're having, that it's just a much better product to use for the animals. So it's just time,
it's really interesting. That I think part of the holdup there, especially on the animal feed, is that the federal government doesn't know how to regulate a product or an agricultural commodity that has such diversity of use. And they're getting really hung up on the line of demarcation at 0.3% THC. And so if you go over that, it's illegal and a controlled substance. And if you stay under that, then you're a legal, viable agricultural commodity. And because of that line there at 0.3%, it's really stymieing the ability for regulators to actually regulate this. And so the policies now, in my opinion, are more controlling in nature rather than nurturing the growth and development of the industry. So until there's a shift in the mindset at the federal regulatory level that nurtures the industry and allows it the opportunity to grow and really achieve its full potential, there's still going to be this controlling effect, which will unfortunately suppress product deployment and suppress investment into this space.
Certainly, the 1% goal is what everyone's hoping to achieve. But do you think it should be higher than that? I mean, to really accelerate this nurturing, should it be higher than 1% if it could be?
Well, the way that I look at regulatory, I think there needs to be some form of regulatory on the farm itself, and be that 1% or higher. As long as it's done at the farm, then that's one thing. And then there needs to be a different type of regulation associated with the various product intentions, because regulating CBD, for example, as a potential medicine is much different than regulating fiber for composites and automotive siding and fiber and plastics. It's much different. So I think there needs to be kind of a disassembling of the mindset that it begins and ends at the farm gate, and they need to really just take a look, kind of push the reset button, take a look at what the product intentions are, and then go from there.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
What do you see in the building industry side? How do you see that developing?
I think there's huge potential for hempcrete in particular, but I've also seen some really awesome products such as hemp wood for flooring and panels and the like. On the construction side, I just read an article yesterday about some wood products that are being used as support structures within the housing. So there's lots of potential there, and I'm actually pretty enthusiastic about it. It's not just the thing that will determine and really help the hempcrete and construction side of the hemp industry along is if it can get into these product specifications or into the regulations and give a carve out for hemp, saying hemp is considered equal to other types of building materials. Once there's a designation of that, once a lot of the testing has been done for strength and porousness or lack thereof and the like, you're going to see a lot of opportunities with hempcrete and hemp woods and the like. And so it's going to be an evolving thing, and it could happen rather quickly. But once you get things into product specifications and into zoning rules and building rules and the like, then there's going to be tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
I know many associations are working on that, trying to get those into place right now. So
5 years out, I know economists like to do these sorts of things. Where do you see the U.S. Hemp market, say 5 years out, if everything falls into place like you hope it will?
5 years out, I see it still in its growth stages, because 5 years out, you'll hopefully and finally be in the automobile industry. In the textiles, there'll be hopefully cost parity now, although cotton prices are at a 10-year high right now. And so there's an economic incentive to convert over to hemp from a cost reduction perspective. if you have the cost parity. Hopefully by that time you'll have, the product specifications in construction and animal feed and the like. Where the biggest booms could potentially be are on the plastic side, and the animal feed side, as well as automotive and construction. So in 5 years, I see it's just getting its legs, and then it's going to really begin to run. And then I think the sky's the limit. And that's from a U.S. perspective. There's even more potential internationally. My fear is that while the U.S. is trying to figure it out, the rest of the world is going to catch up and exceed what's going on in the United States. And then it's going to render the hemp industry, potentially non-competitive, when there was just this tremendous opportunity right now to really deploy it and capture a lot of the global marketplace.
Yeah, I can see where, the U.S. Hemp Building Association's working on those 2 certifications for what hempcrete is and how it can be used. But I think it's like $400,000, and, it's a small nonprofit association that has to figure out a way to raise that kind of money to make it happen. We don't see a lot of government support in this sector we were on a call yesterday with, where state of Colorado is stepping up, and $5 million they're throwing in a kitty to make some things happen. That's kudos to Colorado for doing that. Do you see other states doing that? You did some work in Hawaii. Are they going to be on board?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's an opportunity in Hawaii for hemp construction, and given it's on some special zoned land, it doesn't require as much of the regulatory hoop jumping that is required, say, here on the mainland. On the plastic side, there's tremendous opportunity in Hawaii as well, since they're very, very concerned about microplastics entering into the water and into the ocean and into the soil. But I've been meeting with departments of economic development, both at the city and county level, as well as at the state level. And there's a lot of interest in, rather than waiting for that investment to come, to invest similar to what Colorado is doing, investing in hemp campuses, to where you create kind of a hub and spoke type of model where farmers are able to bring their crop to a centralized location for processing, drying, storing, conversion into products, higher value added products. Michigan's doing the same thing, right? So you've got these states that are jumping into it, because they see the opportunities, they see the economic potential, economic development, job creation, and and they're tired of waiting for the federal government to act.
Interesting. It's going to be fun to watch it all develop.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and that's why I wake up in the morning and just jump right onto my computer, and then you have to tear me away at night, because this is so exciting. And it seems like every time I turn around, I'm learning more and more and more about the opportunities associated with hemp. But also, it's been really an honor and a pleasure to hear the stories of so many operators in this space. Everybody has a unique story, a unique introduction into the space. And so it's really interesting to hear how people have pursued their passion with respect to the hemp.
So have you been pursuing best practices that are used, say, in Europe and Asia, wherever, that then may have some, use here in the United States?
Well, what I've been trying to map out is the value chain for hemp, starting from propagation, cultivation, processing, and then that product manufacturing. There's been so much emphasis by others on the retail side of things that, I figure folks can focus on that while I'm doing all this other work. Are there best practices? Yeah, there are gaps in the supply chain that need to be filled. And I think there's opportunities for mind share and even licensing opportunities where technologies can be transferred from the European market into the U.S. and then allow a lot of those gaps in the supply chain to be filled in. So, yeah, I think that there's mind share there, but there's also really a kind of a lack of analysis capabilities in those on the product development side. And so it's one thing to deploy a product, but then you have to prove that it's consistent and it works and it conforms to various federal guidelines and the like. And I think that needs to be a little bit more stateside in that regard on the product testing and product development. And I'm talking to a few people along the way. There's little pockets of intellectual knowledge and intellectual property. There's little pockets of it throughout the United States. And so it's just a matter of linking those together and weaving the tapestry so that there is, opportunities to get those cultivators enough business to make it worth their while. And so cultivators and processors. So yeah, I'm seeing the sharing of best practices, but I think that there could be more. I think one other thing is that there's a lack of standardization as well. And so having federal standards would be beneficial for interstate commerce and allowing for the development. I know that NIHC has been looking into helping influence those standards, and interfacing with Congress in order to do that. So I think that there's opportunities there. It's really super important.
Now, won't you be NHIC as a summit next week, and you're going to be speaking at that summit?
Yeah, I'll be I think on the 16th of November, I'll be speaking and providing some data from my most recent analysis of the hemp market from an acreage and licensing perspective, provide some insights from my surveys, really try to map out not only what's going on now, but what the potential is, similar to our discussion today. But yeah, I'll be speaking there in Washington, D.C. and on November 16th.
Okay. And
there's a really good article that was brought out today in the Let's Talk Hemp digital news that comes out, and they talk about the biofill natural fibers. Dave Canby out of North Carolina, I met him down in Raleigh when we were down there. And he says the hemp supply chain for textiles and grain has a 99% problems, but the lack of consumer demand isn't one of them. Supposedly farms are not going to grow or start growing until there's demand. Can be told, Let's Talk Hemp, but there's a huge demand. We get calls every day from people wanting textile quality hemp fiber. So it's coming. There's no question about it that people want the product. We've got to be able to make it for them. So the conversion
into that yarn at the beginning stages of the textile process, the conversion to degumming, decortication, the getting it to just into the yarn level, that's been problematic for the textile industry. But once and part of that is due to technology, and part of it is due to lack of scale and lack of resources. But once you get there, I agree that the demand is there. In fact, there's been a lot of narrative out there that there is more land licensed right now than there is consumer demand. That's been a common narrative. But I tend to disagree. I'm more of the factual counter narrative guy, to where I think that there's massive demand and appreciation for fiber and grain as well as CBD. It's just the lack of product deployment that's stifling the growth and development at the retail level. I did a survey of beverage manufacturers using infused beverages and also CBD and cosmetics. And by the way, combined between cosmetics and food and beverage, that represents 85% of the hemp market on the retail side. And so I've been very, very interested in getting insights from those business owners, and essentially a lot of the cosmetic producers were seeing year-over-year growth of 500 to 700%. And they were seeing that sustained from 2019 into 2020, 2020 into 2021. So that's just one example of many that demonstrate that consumers are willing to embrace hemp either in CBD form or in the fiber and grain form. And they're willing to put their money where their demand is, right? So that's why I say there's so much opportunity, and why I remain very bullish despite the reduction, the 60% reduction in acres licensed this year. I think it's just a temporary blip.
Yeah, that infrastructure, we need regional processing so we can eliminate large transportation costs, don't you think? We're going to have a lot of infrastructure built out.
There's a lot of consumer demand and consumer appreciation for locally sourced materials, regardless of if it's hemp or not. But, you think about a farm to table type of efforts that are underway. There's a big movement. And given the problems that we've seen due to the pandemic on the supply chain, the transportation, seeing the lack of, truck drivers, for example, the lack of containers available, there's a lot to be said about having local manufacturing support that is proximate to the hemp growers. And so, I couldn't agree with you more. There's lots of opportunities in that space. And that's why a lot of the local economic development offices have been giving me a call and trying to see where and how to deploy those types of programs.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Excellent.
Are you talking to farmers, that don't grow hemp? I mean, they've been growing soybean, corn, whatever, wheat. And is there a big interest level on the part of farmers to get into hemp?
The attraction of hemp relative to, say, soy and corn farmers or even cotton farmers has been on the remediation of the soil side, and actually having it as a viable and revenue deriving rotational crop. And so being able to get revenue out of an acre of land when before you just let it sit for a year, that's very, very appealing. And especially when you can, take certain steps to restore the viability of the soil and the like, there's a lot of interest. Will it replace corn and soy or alfalfa? No. There's just way too much demand, and those are too powerful of industries to allow them to. But there is an economic case where on a per acre basis, hemp, if you use it as a dual crop, you can actually gain more revenue and more profit per acre than corn or soy. And so I've looked into that. And so that's intriguing, right? And when you got farmers that are looking for new ways to produce and generate revenue, and find new streams of income, hemp really fits the bill in a lot of ways.
Huh. Well, lots of optimism in all of this. Really appreciate you, Beau, taking the time to join us today. You have to stick around for just a second, though, because what's going on next, Mike Brennan?
Well, the best part of the show, we're going to get to Hemperor. He hasn't got his hat on yet. I'm hoping it's not the Hemperor without the hat. Now, come on, Blaine.
All right. Are we ready at that point in time? Beau, I want to thank you. Beau, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of, I know, your busy schedule to spend some time and share your thoughts with everybody in the hemp world. We appreciate that optimism, and we know it's still going to be a long haul yet, but we're there. We're working on it. We're making things happen every day. So, all right. So here we go. Here's the hemp word on this.
This one sounds really good for a fall kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. This is the time of year when it gets a little colder out. I know that we've had a little bit of snow accumulation up near Kalkaska the other day. I saw some pictures of 8 inches of snow there. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but it's coming. We know winter's coming, and it's all right because that's part of the seasons. And I'm all ready for winter. I got all my winter stuff done, so we're ready to go. But yes, you're right, Mike. This is a great thing for keep you warm and give you a little bit of a fun tummy. I'm going to call it that way. So
Fun tummy, okay.
This is sweet potato with red lentils and hemp hearts. And this is by The Simple Green. We want to give credit where credit's due. This is by Simple Green, and the author is Heidi Richker, if I said that right. I like things that don't take very long to prepare. This is a 10-minute prep time, about my attention span most days. Cook time is about 35 minutes, so about 45 minutes you can have a warm and yummy soup, and you can also cook it up and have it stored for later on when you need it. But a creamy blend of sweet potatoes and red lentils and the nutrition of hemp hearts. The soup blend has a slightly sweetness to it, rounded out with the note of garlic, ginger, and optional cider vinegar. Makes a great side or a full meal for those chilly days. So one of the first things to talk about is the ingredients of olive oil. Well, we don't want to do the olive oil because we have something that's better than olive oil.
Much better, in fact.
We got the hemp. Wow. Can you see it there?
And I think they can get that at downonthefarm.com, if I believe, right?
And that's one of the places they can get it. Plus, there's other fine places that carry it in the state now. So a number of places are carrying it. And so, but you can find hemp oil, hemp seed oil. That's much better for you than the olive oil in this case. A couple sweet potatoes, an onion, 2 cloves
I like
of garlic.
The coconut milk. That's kind of different, So
yeah, coconut milk, crushed tomatoes, a third of a cup of hemp hearts. I always go a little heavier myself, but and you put it all together in the pot and cook it up. And kind of the instructions are there. Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, again, 10-minute prep time. We love that. Again, that'll be a nice warm dish to have on these cold days, as they're going to be coming more and more frequent to us. So,
those guys in Oregon don't get the snow out there unless they go in the mountains, right? So.
Are you on the west side or east side, Beau?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Eastern Oregon gets a lot of snow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my son's.
And you can find this recipe and many others on our iHempMichigan.com website under the recipe tab. We've got a whole bunch there. So, as the winter gets, as you get more inside during the winter, if you're an inside person a little more in the winter, great time to go there and try some of these great recipes out. So. Let's see. Next week we are very excited to have the Hero Project we're going to be talking about. And then on the 18th, we're going to do a live remote from the hemp store in Fremont, Michigan. We're going to have Rod on there to talk about Glepke, talk about his path into CBD and how he has started the store there. So we'll have him on the 18th. Now, the 25th, this is Thanksgiving. We're going to take a little break and not have a show on that day. And then in December, we're going to be moving to a little different format. Just give everybody a heads up there. We're going to move to a nighttime, an evening, I should say, more than nighttime, evening presentation. So stay tuned for more information on that, but we'll still be bringing the great content. We just figured it might be a better time to move into the evening time for everybody and be able to enjoy. And one of the fun things we're going to do is at least once a month after the show, we're going to stick around and we're going to have a little networking event that'll take place. So it'll be fun for everybody to get on and be able to share some information and just kind of have that fun time of camaraderie and talking about what's going on in our lives and where we're going. Yep.
Okay, and then also you want to mention, of course, again, that the time is running out if you want to get a booth for the big show in January, right?
Absolutely. That's where the magic happens, is at these expos. That's where you get to meet people face to face. We can all do the virtual stuff. We've done that, but there's nothing better than getting face to face, being able to talk to people and find out what's going on in their world. And that's just where the magic happens. It's just how it always has been. So we look forward to a great turnout for that, like we always have had in the past. So. But if you want to secure a good one of the better booths, they're all good booths. But if you want one of the better booths, you might want to jump on that right away. So, yeah. All right. So, Beau, again, thank you very much. Safe travels to you as you head out to D.C. to what I like to refer to as Disneyland East. Over there. So,
more like Bizarreland East, So
yes, they do. We do a lot of make believe there. So.
Good.
I'm actually heading down to Mexico City and filming a couple of TV series on industrial hemp and higher THC hemp, and so I'm doing that in December. So maybe I'll be able to shake off the DC trip a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
While in Mexico.
Well, that sounds like a pretty fun little. Maybe you'll have to give us an update on that when you get when that happens. Then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where will these be done for Mexico or for somewhere else?
Yeah, from Mexico. They'll be translated into Spanish, and my Spanish isn't that good, and I certainly can't talk fluent hemp when it comes to speaking in Spanish. So, but there's a lot of interest in for educational materials, and so I've been trying to support as many of these TV programs as possible. So, filming a series there, and got another one deploying in Q1 that looks to be running either on Netflix or Prime Video or what have you. So yeah, a lot going on. A lot of education that still needs to be done.
A lot of education.
So true.
Absolutely it is. Well, Beau, we look forward to hearing about your future adventures on that for sure. And we'll share that information out when you can get it to us. So.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to your audience today. I really, really appreciate it. And keep up the good work. You guys are doing great things.
Thanks, Beau. If someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, I have my website at whitneyeconomics.com. It's also Beau, Beau, at whitneyeconomics.com. And happy to take calls as well. I'm in Oregon at 503-724-3084.
All right. Are you in Portland? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I'm in Portland. Exactly.
Okay. All right. I used to live in Seattle a long time ago.
Well, that's all right. I won't hold that against you.
There you go. All right.
All right. Well, be safe. Appreciate you, Beau. Mike, anything else good for the cause or?
No, just next week is Hero Project Week. I'm the president of the board, and I don't know how I got on that, but so I guess you got to be careful when you open your mouth, right? So I'm trying to organize all these different things and trying to do some good stuff for the vets and the PTSD issue and all the rest. It's really what we're focused on, is helping them in those kinds of areas. Yeah. It's easy to give them a can of soup and they can eat for a day, but that's not what we're all about. We're trying to do much more than that. So
excellent. All right.
We'll see everybody next week. Have a safe one.
Everyone.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.